Good evening and welcome to the news at 10. Japanese Foreign Minister Taro Kono will visit Jordan on Monday for talks with Minister of Foreign Affairs and Expatriates Ayman Safadi on means to forge closer bilateral ties, as well as the issue of Syrian refugees in the kingdom. The Japanese Foreign Ministry said the visit comes as part of a one-week trip to the Middle East that will also include Palestine, Oman, Turkey and Israel. The visit, it added, aims to reaffirm Tokyo's role in the Middle East peace process, following U.S. President Donald Trump's decision to recognize Jerusalem as Israel's capital and relocate the U.S. Embassy to the Holy City. Palestinian protests continued unabated against U.S. President Donald Trump's recognition of Jerusalem as Israel's capital. In Bethlehem, Israeli soldiers shoved and pushed Palestinian protesters at the military tower a day before the beginning of Christmas celebrations in the West Bank city. The occupation forces used stun grenades and tear gas against Palestinian protesters, some of whom who were festively dressed as Santa Claus. Yesterday, they shot dead 2 Palestinians by live ammunition during protests in Gaza. 2 days ago, the UN General Assembly approved a resolution calling for the United States to drop its December 6 recognition of Jerusalem, a city revered by Jews, Muslims and Christians, as Israel's capital. The Syrian National Dialogue Congress will be held in Sochi on January 29th and 30th, according to the 8th round of Astana talks. The 2-day talks in the Kazakh capital, which ended yesterday, brought together delegates from Russia, Turkey, Iran, the Syrian government and the opposition, as well as UN Special Envoy for Syria, Staffan de Mistura. A joint statement from the Syria ceasefire guarantor states, Russia, Turkey and Iran, said the Syrian National Dialogue Congress will invite delegates from all ethnic and religious groups, government and opposition representatives, as well as observers from the UN, the Red Cross and the World Health Organization. While ahead of the Syrian government delegation, Bashar Jafari said the Syrian government will exert all efforts to prepare the ground for the upcoming conference. It demands the withdrawal of Turkish and U.S. troops in Syria, which is seen as an invasion and provocation to the country's sovereignty. Earlier this month, Iraq declared final victory over Daesh terrorist group after 3 long years of battle. But the horrors inflicted by the group have a far wider impact. The group brutalized Iraqis, exposed fault lines in the country's already fragile social fabric, and ripped families apart. When Rosa, now 14, asked her Daesh captors about her younger sisters, Bushra, now 12, and Suhaila, now 7, she was told they had been killed for misbehaving. And though she never thought she'd see her sisters again, 3 years on, and in a positive twist of fate, they have been reunited.
Sisters reunited more than 3 years after being kidnapped by Islamic State. Rose, Bushra and Suhaila were taken by the militants during an attack on the Yazidi heartland of Sinjar back in August 2014. They were split up and repeatedly sold to IS fighters for as little as $4. But on Sunday, Rosa and her sisters were reunited with the remaining members of their family.
We were very happy when we were with our parents and brothers. We were very happy when we were at home.
The last 3 years will be hard for them to forget. They were reportedly beaten, forced to convert and banned from speaking their native Kurdish. They even had their names changed. Now the girls live with their older brother Marwan in this group of tents in a small village in Iraq's Kurdistan region. The sisters were returned by Kurdish fighters and the Iraqi government, but their parents and brother remain among the 3,000 Yazidis who are still missing. IS militants have shot, beheaded, burned alive or kidnapped more than 9,000 members of the minority religion. Last week, Iraq declared final victory over Islamic State, with parades through the streets of Baghdad in celebration after 3 years of bloody war.
To international news, 182 people were killed and several dozens went missing in mudslides and flash floods from a tropical storm in the southern Philippines. Most of the casualties were on the main southern island of Mindanao. Disaster officials said many residents had ignored warnings to leave coastal areas and riverbanks. The Philippines is battered by about 20 typhoons every year, bringing death and destruction, usually to the poorest communities. With Christmas around the corner, the chimes of London's iconic Big Ben rang out again today for the festive season after being silenced for restoration work. The bongs of the bell will carry on until 1 p.m. on New Year's Day. Big Ben was taken out of action in August to allow for crucial 4-year repairs to the Elizabeth Tower, which houses the clock. However, Big Ben would continue to chime for special occasions. Meanwhile, in France and in what has become a Christmas tradition, Santa swapped a sleigh for a scuba mask as he took the plunge to swim with sharks at the Paris Aquarium. The diver, dressed in a Santa suit, swam around the Indian Ocean-themed tank with giant grouper fish, eagle rays, and a zebra shark. Watched by some 50 excited children and some anxious parents, the aquarium said the diver was not at any risk, but children were still discouraged from making noise and taking flash pictures in order not to startle the animals. To sports, Barcelona gave their fans an early Christmas gift, thrashing Real Madrid 3-0 in today's El Clásico at the Santiago Bernabéu. Luis Suarez opened the scoring in the 54th minute, and 10 minutes later, Lionel Messi hammered in the second goal from a penalty shot. And then there was Aleix Vidal, who hit the third goal in injury time to pile more misery on Real Madrid. To add insult to injury, Sergio Ramos was given a yellow card for attacking Suarez, while Dani Carvajal was sent off after deliberately preventing Barca from doubling their lead with a handball. Following today's victory, Barca remain top of the La Liga standings, extending their lead over Real Madrid to a scary 14 points. With his goal against Real Madrid, Messi became the all-time top scorer for a single club across Europe's top 5 leagues, surpassing Gerd Muller's total of 525 strikes for Bayern Munich. And finally, for a quick look at the weather, cold and cloudy conditions are expected tomorrow with possible rainfall as temperatures drop, while winds will be westerly light. Amman can expect a high of 13 degrees Celsius, dropping down to 3 degrees at night. In the Gulf of Aqaba, partly cloudy conditions are expected with a high of 23 degrees and a low of 9, while winds will be southwesterly moderate and the seas slightly high. And with this, we come to the end of this edition of the news. I'm Alia Tuqan. Thank you for joining us and have a good night.